Well, y'all, it's getting real. You know, as an FBA citizen here, we gotta speak on it. Mm, mm, mm. The Somalians is taking over Minnesota, y'all. I ain't lying. I was just on my little feed, right? Now they talking about how they done siphoned billions of dollars on our taxpayers. Oh, and if you're confused on what an FBA is, that is a foundational Black American, not African American. Foundational Black American. Always been here, you know? So now that we got that clear, I'm looking at this. You know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna let y'all see it too. Look at this. This is crazy. They done took over Minnesota. This is nuts. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Somebody look at this.
20 past the hour now on a Monday morning. The glare of the spotlight now falling on Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Questions popping up about what she knew and when about a massive COVID fraud scheme in her district. Talking billions, could be billions, at least $1 billion, could go higher. Mike Tobin's got more on that now. Mike, good morning to you. What do you have?
Well, good morning, Bill. And as you mentioned, Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has been in the crosshairs. She made the statement that there were insufficient guardrails to defrauded programs like Feed the Future. Speaking on Face the Nation, she defended against the fact that all but a handful of the suspects and convicts in this case are from Minnesota's Somali community.
This also has an impact on Somalis because we are also taxpayers in Minnesota. We also could have benefited from the program and the money that was stolen. And so it's been really frustrating for people to not acknowledge the fact that we're also, as Minnesotans, as taxpayers, really upset and angry about the fraud that has occurred.
Analysts with whom we have been speaking say it's unlikely Omar would not have some exposure to the corruption. She introduced a legislation that created the program that was defrauded to the tune of $250 million. She also held a victory party in 2018 at a restaurant called Safari, owned by Salim Ahmed Saeed, a major player convicted in the scheme.
I think all this will be investigated very thoroughly because there's really a national spotlight on Minnesota and all its problems. I mean, this is a scandal that is by far the biggest in state history.
White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said on Friday the Somali fraud will prove to be the greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare in U.S. history, and he says we have only begun to scratch the surface of how bad it is.
Okay, all right, Mike. Fox weather tells me it's 10 degrees in Minneapolis where you are. Wind chill -2. But Tobin is tough because he has...
Now, that's a problem. That's a major problem. For all of us, not just blacks. That's a major problem for everybody. How do y'all let a whole group of people come to America and try to run our country? Am I tripping out? Couldn't be. Now that woman's name is, what is it? Oh, weird. Han Omar? If I'm put, I might have messed it up. But they say they got a whole community of Somalians in Minnesota. Put her in power. When she get in power, she ain't even worried about us. She worried about her people. I know, now I ain't the smartest guy. But when you get into politics in America, you're supposed to be for America, right? But she ain't. She's strictly for her people. You know? Now that's crazy. That's wrong. That on so many levels. On so many levels. And they done got billions of dollars off of us, y'all. And you know, one of the biggest scams that they doing right now is through the, the hood housings and the food stamps and all that. Man, they winning. I used to work as a landscaper in the hood at these apartments. I ain't gonna say the name. But they had all the apartments. They all had new cars, designer bags, wasn't paying no rent, getting all the assistance. They was passing up Americans to get them in there. I know, right? Crazy. And now they done took over Minnesota. Yeah, whole society of them. He said hundreds of thousands of them up there. That's how the woman got in. And they done stole billions from us, dog. Come on, y'all. Y'all gotta see this. I know y'all heard about it. And this is not cool. We gotta get the land back. And how is the mayor not getting in trouble about this? Why is he ain't even in trouble? It make you think. Damn, I'm sorry. As a matter of fact, it's more. It's more. Hold on. It's more.
Summited Mount Everest. Thank you, Mike.
That's
Talk
more.
soon. Thank you.
Got it, pal.
Dana.
Well, that's freaking Kaylee McEnany. She's host of Saturday in America, co-host About Numbers. You can find her everywhere, and we love it. Keith Ellison, who's the Attorney General. This guy, they need to look into him. This is what he said on a weekend show.
Let me just say this. We all want to protect the public dollar. We want to prosecute people who engage in fraud. We are up for that. But we can't do it on a partisan basis. We got to do it together. We can't use incidents like this to score a political point.
But as I pointed out last week on this show and on the 5, so he is the Attorney General there. He used to run the DNC. He solicited political contributions from these groups that were stealing the money. And then when they were asking about these investigations into them, he said, don't worry, I'll tell them to knock it off.
Right. And he could have used a little more fervor in telling them to knock it off if he ever even did so, because it didn't stop. The real scandal of all this, Dana, is we got on a New York Times story that brought a lot of light to this issue and telling them to knock it off if he ever even did so, because it didn't stop. The real scandal of all this, Dana, is when you go down that New York Times story that brought a lot of light to this issue, you find that in 2022, most of these prosecutions were underway or starting up. That was Merrick Garland. That was Joe Biden. Merrick Garland called this the country's largest pandemic relief fraud scheme. So where was the sprawling Biden-era investigation? His DOJ was working on it, but I asked Kelly Loeffler at SBA on Saturday, did your predecessor at SBA look into this? She said no. In fact, there were flags on loans for potential fraud in Biden's SBA, and they just let them out the door. So where was the Biden investigation? Where was the Keith Ellison investigation? This was known back in 2022.
Ilhan Omar has taken a lot of questions on this. Scott Bessent went after her on CBS on Sunday.
I can tell you that it's terrible. The Representative Omar tried to downplay it. Said, "Oh, it was very it was very tough to know how this money should be used."
Yeah.
She was gaslighting the American people. When you come to this country, you got to learn which side of the road to drive on. You got to learn to stop the stop signs, and you got to learn not to defraud the American people.
And I interpret that for you. I'll translate. He's saying no excuses here.
No excuses, and especially when it was actually some of the defendants' lawyers who said it was like they were filling the cookie jar up, and like they knew people were stealing out of the cookie jar, and they just kept refilling it and refilling it and refilling it. And I think Scott Bessent makes an important point there. You know, we love immigrants who come to this country, but we need an assimilation process. We need a fervor. You could have your own culture, that's fine, but a fervor for the American dream, a love for this country, an appreciation for taxpayer dollars, an appreciation for the values that bind us together despite our different cultures, backgrounds, languages, etc. I think that's an important point you've heard Bessent make, Stephen Miller as well.
Speaking of Stephen Miller, so he has commented on this. We showed that clip at the beginning.
Now, And the crazy part is, they said some of the money that they siphoned, they sending over there to the terrorist group. Alibaba, some. I'll check into it. I'll let y'all know. That's for a later video. But they done really came over here and tried to take over some American soil. And the woman is saying, we working for Somalia. She ain't even thinking about us. I got another video to show you when, I don't remember his name. I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna mess it up. But he was walking through their community. They wouldn't even talk to the man. Wouldn't even talk to the man. Treated us like we were second-class citizens. You hear me? I said, y'all gonna come over here and try to act like y'all better? What? That's why I say Trump, he know what he doing. That's why I ain't mad at him. Yeah, this our land. Y'all can go on back home with that. Big facts. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Because if y'all coming over here trying to corrupt the system for y'all well-being, and we gonna be in the back end on the dirt on that, and y'all stealing our tax dollars? Oh, nah, y'all can go on and get up out of here with that, man. Because this ain't happening. And we won't let it happen. You know what I'm saying? So anybody up on the YouTube streets and you get a hold of this video, just know, some people ain't playing. They here ready to take names. They ready to go. They ready to run something. So yeah, I ran across that on my timeline today, and I said, I got to say something about this. This is crazy. This is crazy. It's almost unbelievable. Like, how did she get into the... Well, it was a bunch of votes. They said it's hundreds of thousands of them out there. Oh, they voted her in. It's so many of them, they couldn't even stop that. Yeah. Yeah. They think Minnesota's theirs. Ain't that some? But yeah, man. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna keep on reporting on it. Now I'm fishing. Now I gotta get to the bottom of it. Yeah. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Don't worry about it. I ain't no news anchor, but I'm most definitely gonna keep y'all in the loop. So with that being said, man, y'all have a good night. And keep it on your mind, man. And you know they said, I got another one. They said they ain't even black. Yeah, we not black like them. Yeah. I mean, even though they the same color, they said they ain't us. Not like what they said. Not like us. But yeah, man, that's just trying to give y'all some news. That's what's going on right now, man. You know what I'm saying? So watch your back, man. And this ain't for all Somalians, but y'all gonna have to quit that, boy. Y'all in America. You're gonna have to learn how to have American ways, and it's not all about y'all. Because if it was that case, go back home. Go back home.